Hey guys, I know some of you have noticed my proclivity to wear button-ups, and to tuck them in. For one, there's my crotch. I'm sure you guys wanted to look at that. But for one, I look good in button-ups. Okay, I look great. But also I like wearing them. Like my favorite shirt, one of my favorite shirts is it's the same like color. It's got the stripes on it, but it's a short sleeve button up and I don't button it. So it's just kind of just it's I almost treat it like a jacket almost. And that's one of my favorite shirts. My other favorite one is my white button up that's in the closet right now, and that's what I'll be wearing next time. Not because white is a color for me. It's just like the designs on it are really nice. So also I look good in them. So fuck off. Okay. Anyway, my fashion sense aside, which is terrible. I know it hasn't been that very long since my big New Year's resolution video, but there were a couple more minor things that I wanted to talk about before I really started cranking out content for the year. Cause I'm gonna be doing that this year. That is a big thing that I'm going to be working on this year, which is making more content. Cause as much fun as I have making vlogs, where I really shine is making content. So that's a little better. There. Now it's less harsh on my screen because it's just so massive. Because I'm also recording in 16:9 at 60 FPS, and so I'm really smooth and fluid. So that aside, one of the big major things that I'm going to be doing this year is uploading a video every single day again. Now, for some of you, that may mean that I'm getting back on the grind, and while technically yes, but also mostly no. I'm not jumping back on the grind wheel again because I'm doing it differently. As of right now, I am several days ahead on videos. I have the Forest Fairies video that's coming out today at noon. And then there's the Evil Within video, which I'm getting back into the Evil Within finally. That comes out tomorrow at noon. And all my videos will be up at noon because that's a decent time. I know when school starts again and some people who are in school won't be able to watch during those times, but they'll be up. Also, like I talked in my New Year's resolution video, I'm going to be splitting up my time between writing and making videos. But one thing I didn't talk about was the other big thing that I'm going to try and do, which is apply for more voice acting roles. For those of you who enjoy my voice and enjoyed my performance in Mystic Hills, it made me really think about whether or not I really wanted to pursue that again. And with all the positive things that have gone on at the end of this last year, like I ended off 2021 on a really good note, and I'd like to keep it that way all through 2022. Because law of probability says that the third year is better rather than the first two. Best 2 out of 3, okay? Well, I guess technically it would be best 1 out of 3. which means I still lose. Anyway, doesn't matter. God, I ramble so much. I don't understand how some of you watch my content and listen to me ramble. And it's going to be worse than ever because I'm going to have so much stuff to talk about. I'm going to have so much stuff to talk about as things kick off more. Am I too quiet? Is my microphone not picking me up properly? Blah, 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 blah. Hopefully that's better. And I also forget the Bandicam is super weird picking up my microphone. So I gotta remember that. I'll make it 65. 67 is a weird number. But I really, 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 really want to get back into voice acting in general. Like, even if I don't get the roles, auditioning is a huge step from doing nothing. I'm gonna be, for those of you who want to join voice acting, auditioning is, I would consider it on equal terms to actually getting roles. Because if you don't have the courage to audition or reach out and jump for a role, you probably weren't going to get it anyway. So there is that. But one of the, like, I go through Casting Call Club because it's easier and I already have an account on there. And I'm mostly looking for less trying to think of words. Trying to think of less generic roles. Like, one of the roles I just applied for, like, last week. Technically, it was last week. It was only a few days ago. I applied for my first villain. Like, and that's something I've been wanting to do forever. So that's a thing. I finally managed to be able to look for stuff that I really wanted to jump for. Which is a really cool animatic web series that I really, really, really like the potential of. And the people involved are really, really cool. For those I've talked to. I haven't really gone and done a whole lot else. A lot of them just were to put my foot in the door, and then I found that one, and that was the one I got invested in. And it was really, 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 really cool. And then there was a video game role that I applied for. There was just a whole lot of cool stuff that I managed to find. And see, even if you don't get a role, if you make a good enough impression with your interpretation of a character, or your voice is fitting the description of a different character they have planned later, the creators will keep in contact with you. And those are also really good. Good Lord. And I mean, if you're just starting out, money isn't really an issue. So it's one of those things. Um, I would like to pursue it as a career because it's something I'm very passionate about. I'm very passionate about voice acting. Um, Working with Mania on Mystic Hills really opened that door to me because it was something that I had always aspired for, but never really had an outlet to truly see what I could do. And it's stuff like that I'm really, really, really passionate about. Testing my limits and really pushing myself to see if I can actually do it. Like, it's one of those things. Of course, I could just take classes and become a better voice actor that way, but I would actually like to be in the industry before going the whole 9 miles. Anyway, I I think I've talked about it enough. I actually just found a few more while talking about it, and I'm like, ooh, that's cool. What project has ended? Oh, that one. I also applied to be a commentator, so that was a thing too. A lot more generic, but I have a decent voice. I could be a good commentator. Like if I started writing scripts for my videos, I could be a very good commentator because I generally follow scripts to a very minute degree. Um, Unless I think certain words fit better in the sentence, and then in my brain I've already changed it, so it's kind of too late. Mania tore me apart because I did that so often, and I feel awful for doing that to her all the time. It wasn't on purpose. It's just how it ended up. um, Good lord. I've also been a lot more active on Twitter, um, stuff like that. I'm just trying to really push out of my comfort zone a lot more because it's what's keeping me from my full potential, if you will. Because it's just one of those things. Oh Jesus. Loudness. But I have a lot of cool stuff in mind for what I want to do. I just need to execute them. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I have a lot of potential in certain areas, but am not reaching that potential because, well, I'm being complacent, for one. But also because most of it is me, I would say. The other part of it is I don't have a group of people to emotionally support me anymore. So I'm kind of stranded and on my own now. I'm just a wee little baby, guys. Come on, just give me a break. I gotta really try. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not 100% sure on. There's a lot of stuff that I'm really trying to work on. My biggest thing I'm trying to work on is my editing. Um, because I could be editing videos a hell of a lot more than I do. Um, I don't edit my vlogs, for one, which is a thing I probably should do, because I have such a major tendency to ramble and ramble and ramble. But what are you gonna do? That's part of my charm. Um, and I'd really like to think I'm improving. Because let's be honest, one of these days I'm gonna have a larger audience. Because I'm saying it's inevitable, because not because I feel entitled to it. Like, I'm not all like, oh, I've been doing it for so long, I'm guaranteed to have a bigger audience. I'm talking like 2 or 3 more years in the future. It's almost guaranteed at this point I'm gonna have a bigger audience. By how much, I couldn't tell you. But I'm gonna have a bigger audience who has a better appreciation of what I'm trying to do, rather than, a lot of other things. Because the stuff I'm trying to do may not always work out, but it's the thought that counts. So that's mainly the gist of the stuff that I really wanted to talk about. Um and I really want to push for this year to be a really great year for me, because I'm not just doing YouTube, because that's something that really hit me last year and the year before. So 2020 and 2021, I was only focusing on YouTube. And where I absolutely 100% truly shine is when I'm moving towards multiple goals at one time, rather than just one set straightforward goal. Um I would consider my YouTube channel my vehicle to put myself out there, rather than my platform to get get noticed and get famous, cuz that's never going to happen. Um but there's always the thought, what if it does happen? I need to be prepared for that to happen, just in case. I'm very much one of those people who prepares for a dozen different eventualities. So it's I'm very much that person. And of course, there's voice acting that I want to get into. And with my normal voice, I have a wide range of skill set. I have a wide ranged skill set with my normal plain voice. With Adrian, it was different because I lowered the octave, and I had a much softer tone rather than my normal flat speaking voice. It was very soft and lyrical almost, with as if it were on wave, as if it was very wavy, because I have my highs and my lows. But there's all sorts of other stuff that I want to work on, because I also need to work on my upper range. My upper range needs the most work. My lower range needs a little more work, because I would like to be able to go deeper. Because I feel like if I can drop my voice deeper, I can nail probably almost any villain role out there. Unless, of course, that's not the vision the creator had in mind. But you know what I mean. And for those of you who are confused as to why I want to portray a villain so badly, it's because villains are interesting. I'm not saying protagonists can't be interesting, okay? But you can't deny that most protagonists, especially nowadays, are very, very basic. Villains have so much more potential for character growth, story arcs, abilities, so on and so forth. There's so much more that you can cover in a villain than you could ever cover in a protagonist. And of course, they don't have to be a straight set villain. They could just be an antagonistic force against the protagonist. Just another person who's trying to do good in their eyes, which is a lot of villains. A lot of villains aren't specifically villains because what they're doing in their mind is the right thing to do, which is what makes villains so interesting and why playing a villain is so appealing to me. And of course, there's all the cliche evil moments that almost all antagonists get that I really like, that I'd love to go nuts with. But there's also the intricate and smaller things that I absolutely adore. And I wish I could think of good examples, but I really can't. Because there's a lot of different villains out there with a lot of complexity and a lot of depth to them, which makes them interesting and makes the story interesting. There are a lot of stories where if your villain was a bland villain and had no motivation outside of, oh, I'm super evil, the story and the protagonist's motivations would be incredibly weak and would fall apart. Now, I'm not saying a good villain can make a good story. In a lot of cases it can, but in some cases it really can't fix the problems with a story if there are fundamental issues with the story. World building, character introduction, character development, on and on and on and on. There's lots of issues that can stop a good villain, from shining as well if your basic story isn't as well built. Which is kind of why you need to shape the world around your characters rather than shaping your characters around the world. Which is how I do it when I write. I very much shape the world around the characters I'm writing about, rather than just having a preset world where certain rules are applied and you can't go outside those boundaries Otherwise, the story makes no sense. Of course, there's exceptions to this rule. Just like every rule, there's always an exception. But it gives you a box. And if you go outside that box, you break your story. I would consider world building based on character development is more of a sphere, and it's a very fluid sphere that you can mold and shape into whatever you want. And it's how a lot of the best stories ever told are constructed. And it's very nuanced and very interesting. But enough about writing theory and voice acting. I've rambled on long enough. I'm going on 30 minutes, and I don't want to go over that. So, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you guys hearing me out. It just goes to show when I get super high energy like that and start explaining things, I'm really, really, really passionate about it. I have a lot of passion for the stuff that I'm doing. It's just that I don't always know how to harness that passion and project it out into a physical thing, whether it's voice acting, writing, or making a stupid YouTube video, like stuff like that. So I appreciate you guys having so much patience with me. I appreciate every single one of you all the time. I really do. And I think that's it. So thank you all so much for watching. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. I have to be a little quiet because people are still sleeping. And as always, I will see all of you in the next video. Bye!